Mhm. Okay, great. So, what would you say? Like you said, 10 years of experience, right? How many
10,
years of experience would you say you have in backend specifically?
back in 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you say front end, it's was it React from the beginning?
A few projects I have done React, a few projects Vue.js. Mostly it is into the
Yeah.
React only. Two three projects
Okay.
I have done in Vue.js as well.
Okay. So JavaScript is was the
Yes,
basic, right? From
yes.
okay. Okay. Moving on. Let's start with the questions. And I have to let you know that this section is also being recorded for reference for data. Okay.
Ram, your voice is breaking. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
clear.
Okay. I said this session is also being recorded for
Okay.
reference. Just
Yeah,
letting you know.
no issue.
Okay. Yeah. So start going with the basics. Let's say we've got. Can you tell me what is hoisting in JavaScript?
So hoisting is basically we can access the variables in declared in JavaScript before its declaration or functions as well. But it differs for the depend upon the what keyword we are using to declare the variables. Like for var, if we declare the var variable and we try to access it before, we get undefined value. But for let and cons, we will get a reference error because in that case, hoisting works differently. So that's the idea of
Mhm. And if I declare a let variable inside a function, like let's say I'm declaring it at the end of the function, but I'm trying to access it at the beginning of the function, we'll get a reference exception, is what you said?
within function you are telling, right?
Inside a function,
Yeah,
yes.
inside function if it use let, we still get a reference error.
Hmm. Okay. Mm. Moving on, let's say you've also worked on TypeScript, right?
Yes.
So let's say if somebody tells you if somebody is telling you that TypeScript projects the projects that we build in TypeScript and projects that we build in JavaScript, TypeScript actually performs better than the project that was done in JavaScript. Performs meaning it responds faster, like it responds faster to the user or something like that. What would you say? Would you agree or disagree?
uh, because the application, I mean, doesn't matter it is built on TypeScript or JavaScript, at the end it is rendered on the JavaScript only, so the performance should not change.
Mhm. Oh, okay. Okay. And can you tell me what is a minified series?
Minified means when we write in development, we give spaces or unnecessary extra lines. In minified version, all those are removed and to make it short. So that is
Mhm.
minified.
And making it short, why do we do this? Why do you have to make it short?
To basically to load the bundle that we create, to load that bundle fast on the first page load. So that's why we do minification. It's a part of optimization, we can say.
Mhm. Okay. And yeah, moving on, let's talk about why Node.js needs the event loop.
Okay, so event loop is the primary of Node.js. So as Node.js is built into JavaScript, and JavaScript is a single-threaded uh, application, we can say. So to work a synchronous task or some heavy task, we need event loop. So basically, what it does, it prioritizes the task and it put into the queue, event queue, and it with the help of event loop, it will execute all the code line by line. It will check the whole program, the code, and it will divide it into the macro task, and the synchronous code. So first it will run the synchronous code and then micro task and macro task. So that is whole this whole process is done by the event loop.
Mhm. Okay. Moving on, let's talk a bit about solid principles. Can you tell me why this open close principle is what's its significance? And a few examples if you.
Ram, sorry, but I don't know about the exact, I mean, the theoretical part of solid principle, and I haven't revised for this interview, so I could not answer. But just I'm trying to guess. It must be the software development, what we say, some basic principle by which we have to follow the the development of, I mean, writing code principles. So, but I really don't know what solid principle.
Okay. So can you talk about any other solid principles that you know about?
Uh, no.
Sorry, did you say no?
Yeah,
Uh,
I said no.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I okay, okay, no issues. Moving on. Okay. So let's talk a bit about design patterns. Right? Have you heard of them?
Yeah, design pattern.
And can you tell me in brief, like, like let's say a non-technical person asks you what is design patterns, right? What would you answer?
Design pattern means how we basically structure our for a non-technical person. Okay, let me think for a bit. Um So the whole application that we build, any software in the real world, it has to be uh, smooth to the user. Doesn't matter whether he's uh, been from which region he's accessing our application or from which uh, internet connection. It depend upon the speed of the internet. The application has to be run smooth, or it should perform its user need. It should fulfill user needs. So that way we have to design our application. And for the application, to built into the that way, we have to follow the design pattern. There are some given uh, what we say rules that we have to follow, which are called as design patterns in layman language, I can say. So
Mhm. Okay. Um, um, can you give me one example of a creation pattern or structural behavior? Any of the patterns, like maybe one example at least.
the voice got broken. Can you repeat the question again?
So I said, can you give me, will you be able to give me an example for the major three types of design of patterns, like creation, structural, and behavioral, right? With one of each.
uh, no, I don't have any idea about that.
Okay. Moving on. Let's talk a bit about memoization on the UI, right? So can
Yes.
you tell me the importance of memoization? Why do we need it?
Yeah, so memoization is basically optimization of the your our React component. Maybe it is a React or any other like Vue.js also have memoization. So basically, what it does when we pass in component structure, when we pass props to any component, even if the props value are not changing, and suppose its parent component is rendering, so by default the child component will also re-render to avoid that. And basically it will just re-render, but it is heavy task, and it will basically slower our application on the UI side. So to avoid this, what we do, we add memoization. So in this memoization, what it will do, it will check whether that prop value has really changed, and it will do the comparison, and then if it is changed, that case only it will update the child component, I mean re-render the component. So basically, it is to avoid multiple re-rendering. So that's the whole point of memoization.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. So can we say for if the input is same for the same function or the same component, the output is not going to change? Would that be a correct statement?
For memoization, no, this is not the correct statement. Because
Okay.
component might be different operation, it can change. But for pure component, yeah, the concept that you told, the input is changed. I mean, input is same, then output should be the same. That is for the pure components.
Mhm. Okay. Talking about pure components, can you tell me what are pure? Have you heard of pure functions?
Yeah, pure function is again the concept is same. Basically, the if we keep passing the same input multiple time, then the output will also be the same. It should not change. So that's the basic principle of pure functions.
Mhm. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. And I'm assuming you also used Redux and
Yes,
reducers in your
yes,
experience, right?
yes.
And we have a general idea that reducers in Redux, they need to be pure, right? So why do you think reducers in Redux need to be pure functions? What will happen if they're not?
Uh, mm, Maybe they because as we say the React, I mean the Redux is a the state that we store in the that it is predictable, we say. The React is a predictable, sorry, Redux is a predictable state management, we say. So the word predictable that we use is for the pure components only, because what happens if we the values will keep changing. I mean, the output if keep changing. So in that case, we cannot say that Redux is a predictable state management. So to keep that thing, it has to be pure components.
And when you say output keeps on changing, why do you think output will keep on changing if it's not a pure function?
Uh, because uh, the, the state that we pass in reducer, it is declared outside. So if we declare any random variable inside our reducer, or we change the what state that we are passing, if we change that state value inside the reducer using some internal variable, so in that case the output will change. But the state that we pass, I mean, if we just work on the state input that we pass to that reducer function, so in that case the output will be similar every time.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's talk about, let's say you're designing a particular feature wherein the user wants to upload a particular file, a large file on the UI, and you want to parse it, get the file to the backend, do something with it, maybe store it in a database, maybe put it in a S3 bucket, something.
Hmm.
And so, how would you approach this from starting from an architectural point of view and then moving on to code?
So from front end, what we have to do, we have to create a separate file upload component, and there the API that we write in the backend. Uh, Basically, the API node point will be the separate for the file upload, and the headers that we pass there for file upload are different from the normal other get post API that we have. So from front end level, we create a separate component. We pass, I mean, we pass the validation.
Before going to components from a
Yeah.
code level, right? Let's talk about an overview level, like from the user experience and how to design things. Like what should we show to the user when the file is uploaded?
Uh, okay, so
Let's
first,
say the file is 10 gigabytes in size, okay,
mhm,
and 10 gigabytes is going to take a while to upload, at least a
mhm.
couple of minutes or maybe even an hour. So how do we handle this user experience?
Uh, we can show a small loader over that component for the file upload. Also, we can disable that file upload component once the API is already been started. So user should not click that button again and again to upload. So to reduce that actions, or to call that reduce that events, we can disable that button for, and we can show that message the file is already uploading. So that way we can design the UI side.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So the user screen would be designed that way. So what happens, like let's say if I close the browser and they come back to the same page, right? What would happen? Like, what would we show the user?
Okay, to close the browser, we then show if that already API is processing. I mean, the file upload is working. So we should tell user that upload processing already going. Do you want to? I mean, we show the alert message before there. And
Mhm.
if users want to intentionally close that, and if he click yes, basically what happens, that operation is already removed from the user side only. So we basically remove that uploaded file from the database side as well as, and in browser anyway it is not stored once the browser is closed. So once that user again opens that, we have to show him the upload file option again.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if the browser is refreshed, like, and how would data flow from backend to browser? Like, we uploaded the file, tried to upload the file last time, and we abruptly closed it, and then we reopen the same page. Can you tell me how data is transferred between the web and the backend? Like, how would the browser know that the data is being uploaded?
So So maybe in that case, what we can do, we can store, I mean, the progress of the upload in our local storage. So local storage, we don't clear I mean, the local storage is not cleared immediately after the FS. So what we can do, the file upload progress, how much percentage is uploaded already. That data we get from the API, and that we can store in our local storage. So if the page is refreshed, or the if even if it is browser closed and reopened, we can get that data from there immediately.
Mhm. Okay. Let's say, okay, we store this in local storage, even after we refresh, we check the local storage and see that the file is uploading. So before the component is enabled, we show them that, okay, the file is uploading. Do you want to resume this or like something like that, right?
What we can do if the file name is same, I mean, if user try to upload the same file and any file name is same, in that case we can show it
Okay.
that file is
Okay.
uploaded.
Okay. Now let's build over this problem. Let's say
Mm,
this works for the web,
mm,
and what happens is, let's say you also have like, you open another browser, or
mm,
you have a mobile app with the same functionality.
mm.
When you do that, you won't have the same local storage. You won't have the same local storage in the app, right? So
Right.
what happens when?
Okay. Okay. In that case, uh, in case of maybe let me just try to figure it out. So in separate case, when for that file upload, user must be doing some login, right? So in user login case, when user is logged in that case, and suppose that functionality is on the separate module, I mean the file upload is in the different module. So when user land on that particular page, there must be some basic API that we were getting on the page load, first load. So in that case, we might send the uploaded file progress, and we can show that from that API that how much file was uploaded already, and that you can show. I mean, on the first page load, we can get that data and we can show it on the browser side.
So that would mean we'll have to persist this actual status somewhere, right?
Yes, yes, in the backend itself, and we have to load that once user land on that file upload page.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Uh, moving on. Yeah. So, can you think about any, let's say you have a high traffic e-commerce platform or some website like Amazon or something, right, for a particular service. And can you tell me the architectural patterns that come to your mind? Like, we'll have to keep this in mind to design this high traffic application. Any few.
Okay, I will give overall first from the front end, and then I will explain about the back end. From the front end side, what we have to do, uh, we have to let me explain for the back end itself first. So while building the API, what we have to do, we have to provide some rate limiters. So a single user, how much he can access those APIs, maybe product or any card API or any order API. We have to put one rate limiter over there, and also for the uh, in the backend, while I mean setting up the server, we have to use clustering over there. So if there is a huge traffic, the our node process, I mean the backend does not break. So we have to do the clustering as well there. Um, from the front end side, we have to do the memoization for the user is loading the pages, so he should not feel that page is lagging or something. So that one we have to do memoization, and the state management also we have to follow in such a way that the user flow should be smooth from the front end side. Also from the backend side, we can do Redis. We can use Redis to cache the responses for the single user. If he is trying to access a single page multiple times, so we can send him the cached response rather than fetching database again and again.
Mhm.
Also, other than this, we can use CDN to load the static images, and also we can optimize the image sizes what we store on the database, so that way the network bandwidth will be the same. If we use the heavy mesh, so that's the not the right way. um, Other than these, we can use middlewares. um,
Mhm.
yeah, pretty much these things like caching, rate limiting, and clustering would be for heavy traffic.
Mhm. Okay. So, uh, moving on. Okay. So let's say we're working in a team, right? Like you have a couple of members in your team, and uh, let's say everybody has a different style to write code, everybody has different preferences, right? How would you maintain your code quality, how the code looks, the style across different team members?
Okay. So particularly regarding the coding pattern, we have multiple tools. The famous one is everyone uses linter tool. So what it basically checks is it checks the coding style, the variable that we are passing, or the structure of the type of the variable that we're doing. So it basically checks it has some basic coding rules that are set. Also, addition of that, we can say use our custom rules as well. We can set the custom rule, config some custom rule from our side. That is one while developing. One more thing, there are tools to check the code quality. Basically, uh, I don't exactly remember the name. Yeah, but there are tools which we do after once our code is deployed to the server, we that code is run through that pipeline, and there we check the code quality. So that is also one we can do. Also, from the technical level, we can implement the code from the front end or the back end. We can use a TypeScript, because TypeScript has some structured we can structure the input at the API response or the payload to the API. That or everything we can structure in the TypeScript. So those are the steps we can follow to maintain the code quality throughout the team.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Moving on. Can you tell me do you know what is a higher order function?
Yeah, higher order function is a concept of JavaScript. Basically, it will it is called higher order because it is using uh, uh, one second.
No
uh,
problem.
it is using arrow function, like map is a higher order function or filter is a higher order function. Basically what it does, it will generate a new array, and it uses the loops internally and the arrow functions internally, so that's why it is different from the normal function. Basically it will
Mhm.
return a non-primitive data type like array or basically new array in much of the cases.
Okay. So example you mentioned that map and other functions, right? Do you
Yes.
think we can create a custom higher order function?
Yeah, we can create. Basically, we have to accept the array and s- I mean, add a for loop into it and then return a new array. So that would be called as a higher order function, custom higher order function.
Mhm. Okay. Um, Moving on, can we talk about the common security vulnerabilities that we face in Node.js, like be it front end or back end? How do you address them?
Okay, for security, the basic we put is authorization or authentication. If that is the base of everything. Also, in uh, front end as well as back end, also we can reduce the what we say, declaring the unnecessary variable that would cause a memory leak in our application. Um, Also, from the backend perspective, if I say we can put a rate limiter, that is also for a security purpose. If some hackers are trying to call the same API, I mean, try to break the login API multiple times, so we can put a rate limiter over there. So by that we can prevent the hacking. Uh, Also, we can stop the I mean, when we receive the input from the front end side, what we can do the sanitization of that input. So any cross scripting, I mean the cross scripting attack, XSS attack can be avoided in that way. Also on the front end, when we receive the API response, we should not directly render that response in front end. We have to sanitize that as well, because from backend also we can receive the directly some JavaScript, and if we try to run that, basically you are trying to run that JavaScript directly without sanitizing it, so that would also cause some error or some security attacks.
Mhm.
um,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
these might be the basics.
Thank you. Moving on, let's talk about. Have you heard of the term technical debt?
Technical debt.
Mhm.
Can you explain? Because I have not heard. Or you
Okay.
can go with
So
the question directly. I will try.
technical debt, if you've not heard, do you think you've heard of the word code smell, something like that?
I mean, I might have. I think I have heard code smell, but I'm not exactly recalling it right now.
Mhm. Okay.
Is it again related to security, right? I guess code smell is.
Not entirely. So
Okay.
code smell or technical debt is like non-functional requirements that you have in code. Like for example, you write code, it works. I think maybe you may know it under a different name. So let me tell you. So this when you write code and it for functionality, right? And apart from functionality, there's other stuff that you have to follow in code. It's not related to functionality, but it's just right related to maintainability kind of thing, right? So that is kind of called technical debt.
Okay.
So, like for example, you cannot duplicate functions or logic in multiple places, like that, stuff like that.
Okay. Okay. I will check
Okay,
after this.
okay, no issues. And do you have experience in setting up or contributing to any CI/CD pipelines in your team?
No. I mean, creating no, but I have used, but not creating exactly.
Mhm. Okay, 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 great. Uh, Moving on, let's talk about uh, like how does let's say you have multiple microservices, right? And not every microservice is going to be loaded similarly from user. Like let's say morning 9 a.m. when the store opens, there's going to be a lot of traffic, and midnight when all the stores are closed, there's not going to be much traffic. So the traffic is going to go up and down, right, to the service. So how do we handle this efficiently?
Uh, One way I have seen in the DevOps section, I guess it come for the AWS or C, it is called as auto scaling. So when we use any services to host like AWS or any other Kubernetes, what it does, it provides basically auto scaling. So what it happens basically, depend upon the user traffic on that particular pod, the pods are scaling. If In one of my projects also I have seen, they we provide basically limit for each pod, and depend upon the request coming on it, it will scale to the next pod. I mean, it will keep on adding new pods if there is a huge request coming. If the request get less, it will delete the extra pods that whatever it has created. So it's part of that thing.
When you say huge request,
Hmm.
did you mean single request? Can you elaborate on a bit on that?
Uh, no, not exactly single request, I would say. I mean, the system that I have say I will explain in that way. So we had a multiple services. The project I worked was for the insurance. So for insurance, it has multiple funnels. We used to call it funnels. It was a general insurance, some other type of insurance, car insurance. So they had different funnels, and each service was deployed on. Each service was created was a separate pod for each one. So when there were multiple requests coming on that particular exactly one funnel, the pod number used to get increase, and once uh, the request reduces, the pod used to be gets deleted. So that is what I know, but I don't know whether it was exactly for the one request or from the multiple. That I really don't know.
Mhm. Okay. No issues. Okay, moving on. So you mentioned you worked on an insurance project, right?
Yes,
So pretty sure there was payment involved. You should
yes,
have had a particular payment
yes,
service something involved. So let's
yes.
talk about this particular payment, not the payment service that you worked on, but
Hmm.
in general payment services,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
So payment services need to be highly available, and they have to have a fallback or a recovery strategy. Let's say if the payment service is slow
Hmm.
and or if the payment service goes down. So
Hmm.
how do we handle this like reliable?
Okay.
Like we're talking about
Uh,
architectural
hmm.
patterns, not specific code level.
Hmm.
Code level also is important, but
Hmm.
right now we're only talking about architectural design patterns.
Okay, do you want me to answer in terms of the payment gateway application, or in terms of the our application which is using the payment gateway?
In general, payment gateway should be fine.
Okay, I will explain in both ways. For for the application which is using the payment gateway, not the payment gateway application, our application, what we have to do, we use uh, there was one tool, I will explain, but I did not developed it, but I worked on it. So let me explain whatever we used to do. So there was some one queue we used to call. I mean, there was one tool which was RabbitMQ. It was designed it that way. What has to be happen once the payment gateway is down? We used to get the request and under, I mean, uh, the the funnels or the what we used to call it as the basically the user is trying to buy the insurance. Okay, once he reached the payment page, and if suppose that payment does not complete, or the payment gateway itself is not loading, it that transaction used to be stains the status used to be set to that particular, that for each step there was separate statuses, like payment has been completed or payment processing, something status were used to set to that particular transaction for each user. And after that, once that payment gateway is up, I mean currently suppose payment gateway is down, that status has to set to that the transaction is going, or it is in progress, or something like that. Once the user reach to that particular payment page, and once payment gateway is back, what used to happen, whichever statuses, I mean, whichever transaction, there was one cron job, whichever transaction were into that state, there was one email used to trigger from that cron job. Suppose that payment gateway is down for long time, there was one cron job email which used to trigger to that particular user email ID. I mean, it was kind of reminder that you can resume the your transaction. So that was from our side. uh, from payment gateway side, I actually don't have idea how it used to happen, but there was very rare case that it used to go down.
Mhm. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Moving on, let's talk about so this payment gateway that we have, right? So obviously it's a payment gateway and that will require some kind of authorization. So it will
Yes.
be an API key or
Hmm.
a certificate or something.
Yes.
So how do we handle saving this API key or certificates? Where do we store and retrieve them?
In config file, I mean, if it is on our local, I mean, generally in local also we have some config file like .env file there we store in local. But in general, where in AWS we have some config file, there we used to save the keys and everything in the env page.
Mhm. Okay, and what will happen when this certificate or key is expiring, right? Like it's not going to be forever valid. It will have an expiry of maybe
Mm,
6 months or 1 year.
mm.
So how will you update this, or when will you know that it's getting expired?
In
You.
hmm. So
Mhm.
in our process, what I have seen, even for the site certificate, also the secure site certificate, SS certificate, we used to set one reminder throughout the I mean, team wise. We used to set one task prior. I mean, suppose that certificate is going to expire in next 3 or 4 weeks. We used to set one reminder. I mean, there was some buffer, like 1 month buffer used to set up, or 2 month buffer, and there were used to one process like and some approvals has to be taken, but it was completely on the reminder basis only. There was no any automated automation for that. uh,
Mhm.
there
Okay.
depend upon the tool, there might be some automation, like for suppose for AWS or any other service that we use, there might be some automated thing in that, but I'm not sure about that.
Okay. No problem. Moving on. So let's say you're working on a new project and you're starting a new project from scratch,
Hmm.
right? And your role or first task is to set up automatic this uh, code style optimization, like linting, all of that. Like, how would you start? What would you do to set it up?
So right now the latest builder, I mean, for every project we use a builder. But latest previously we used to do on Webpack. Right now it is White. Everyone is using White in all the new projects. So when we create a new White project, basically it asks for the library or the setting that you are going to use. or the linting rule, or the whether you are going to use TypeScript or JavaScript. So while setting up only it asks, so you have to select up over there. And after creating the first build on, I mean the first
So this tool that you're talking about is something internal, was internal to your company, as company.
no, no, White is a, I mean, I mean, it's a worldwide used tool, VIT White, or some call it as a Vite also.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's the latest one now. Previously, when we used to do the Webpack, that time also we used to, I mean, create the, for example, React project. We used to create uh, using the Create React library. So behind the scene, it used to use Webpack, but now after coming of White, the Create React app is also removed. And even from official React as well, they mentioned that we have to use Vite as a building tool. So while setting up only
So
it.
yeah, this is okay. So this will basically initiate any project and set
Hmm,
things up for
hmm.
you. So what about like multiple developers have to work on this? They're going to have different code styles.
Yeah, yeah.
How do we make sure everything syncs in? Like how do we force a validation?
Validation, about the code validation you are mentioning, right?
Code style validation specifically, not the
Hmm.
functionality, just how
Okay.
the code
Hmm.
looks and.
Okay, so in the initial phase, we create a one, I mean, first code structure. After, I mean, the code project we say, then we what we do. First, we create the folder structure first, like how our code structure has to be there. Like the services file should be there, some utils folder should be separate. First, we create the folder structure. Later, what we do, we can for the code level, we can introduce the linting rules and everything. With that, we parallelly we have to create documentation as well for the first coming user. So documentation will help the new developers, so the how the code structure is there, or the how the folder structure is there in our code. After the we deploy our first commit to GitHub, the first commit. So after that, every other developer can start using it on it. And initially, we can create the sample components to let other developers, or we can put that screenshot in our
Mhm. So, you
documentation as
mentioned
well.
linting rules and documentation here. So, let's
Hmm.
say there's documentation on how to code, how to
Hmm.
style this and everything.
Hmm.
And I'm a new developer.
Hmm.
I look at the documentation, but I don't respect the documentation. I intentionally or unintentionally skip the documentation and
Hmm.
make my own
Hmm.
changes.
Right.
So, what would happen in that case?
Okay. So when we push our code to GitHub, what happens? Other developer will start, as you mentioned, if they don't follow the rule, when they push the commit, there are what we say, automated reviewers. I mean, currently most of the also using. I mentioned the name. So basically, when the code is pushed there, we can set up in GitHub, or in GitHub, mostly use GitHub only. We can check. I mean, for the automated code reviewers, there are basically linters only set up. But on the before that code come to the reviewer, it will catch those error, and it will send a reminder to the developer. So to follow this rule, I mean, this code cannot be committed. So that is the one level of filter we can do. And later
Mhm.
would be I mean the project manager or the code reviewer has to check it.
Mhm.
uh,
Okay.
hmm,
Uh, Moving on. Okay. Let's say we have an API which
hmm,
somebody is consuming, a web app, a mobile application, and we want to introduce a breaking change, a huge change to the API, which would require the clients to change their contract also. We call that a breaking change, right? So we
uh,
want to introduce this. Sorry.
can you repeat the question again? The voice got break in between.
Okay, no issues. I'll repeat again. So I was saying we have a API which is consumed by a consumer.
Mhm,
Let's say a web application, and we want to introduce a new breaking change to the API. Breaking as in a huge change,
mhm,
right? Like which is not backward compatible. Like the
okay.
client has to modify their code
Mhm,
so that they can keep consuming our APIs. So
okay.
we have to do this. Let's say it's security concern,
Mhm.
and how do we do this without or ensuring minimal disruption?
Okay, so this has to be going through the stages first in our development. We check it on the UAT first. I mean, we first develop it. If we test it on the our local machine, then we do it on the UAT site. Our staging side, basically, not the production UAT side. Later, in some cases there is a pre-production site as well, which will reflect exactly the production level application. I mean, what are the configuration, what is their production, same in the pre-production. Once that is done, then there is a I mean, not every cases, but in some cases, I mean, in the most of the large application, there is a zero downtime deployment, we call it as, because most of the modern tool provide there's this functionality. Like your code changes, I mean, the new code deployment will be reflected immediately. So in that case, okay, so the question was that application is going to break. I mean, the uh,
When you say zero time
consumer, huh?
deployment, was it for API or was it for the front end?
So for the API, so but as you
Okay.
mentioned, the client the has I mean the has to do some changes. So we have to provide that UAT URL. I mean the API UAT URL to the client and ask them to do their changes. So that way it has to go. I mean once that is done, then from our side we can. I mean once it's a communication basis. So once we communicate to them that this is the change, and once they do the changes from their side, we change that UAT URL with the production URL once we deploy it.
Mhm. So you're saying we do the change. Let's say we have an API called API
Hmm.
slash test.
Hmm.
We do the breaking change there,
Hmm.
and we let the consumers know that this is going to break,
We
and
do
they.
that change first on the UAT and not the exactly on the production. So that
Yeah,
way
yeah,
we
definitely. We
hmm.
do it from lower, like we do it
Yes.
in dev QA,
Hmm.
UAT, and then prod. So we
Hmm.
do that and we put it into UAT, we make them
Yes.
test it. And then when going to prod,
Hmm.
we are telling that we'll try to sync the deployment between the consumer and API so that there's no issue. Is that what I understood?
Okay. So in that case, so generally for this kind of operation, we choose the time when there is a very less traffic on the site, like in the midnight. And
Mhm.
generally we see receive is maintenance downtime kind of thing. Depend upon the application, up to application it is different. For some application it is very critical, like Facebook or Amazon. They don't have such things, like there is a zero downtime. So
Mhm.
in such cases, that the front, I mean the both the deployment has to be synced in time.
Mhm.
So that
Okay.
I guess that is the only way I could think of as of now.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. Let's talk about. Hmm. Okay. So let's say you're working as a lead in a project, and there are other engineers You're working on a feature which requires selection of a library. Okay, you'll have to select library A or library B, and we have multiple team members. And let's say the vote is split or the support is split. Like a set of people want to use library A, and set of people want to use library B, and there's a conflict between the team. So how would you, as a lead, interfere and find a solution for this? Like, what steps would you take?
But at the end, we have to use the one library only, right? There is no option
Yeah, yeah,
to
just
use
one,
the.
just one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. First, we check the, I mean, the use case of our the libraries for our application. Which one is very useful? Okay, and uh, depend upon the costing. Suppose one library is costing to company as well. There is budget. Depend upon that. So what we can do? First, we can uh, uh, if the use case is passing, I mean the particular one library is passing all the use cases. We can what we can do is we can train the other developers to use about the next library, the other library that they want to use. I mean they don't want to use, and we can ask to create one POC upon that. I mean, to get hands-on with the actual before they work on the exact actual code, we can ask them to create some POC or some give some training to get used to with the new library. So that would be the best way to get them started on the new library.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Moving on. So let's talk about, let's say you have a particular Node.js application which doesn't have many external calls. I mean, it doesn't have any external calls or asynchronous code. It's just synchronous like logic. You're computing something inside it. Okay. And let's say you find out that it's causing high CPU usage. There's a some other issue with the code on a code level. So how to debug this?
Node.js itself provides some logging tool or debugging tool. Those we can use. Exactly forgetting the name, but generally when we deploy, I mean when we use some or when we build some, we basically put logging on the each step. So from that logging also we can know on which step that application is getting slow or that getting stuck. So depend upon the log also we can find out the root cause of that API lag. Uh, One more, I mean, other could be uh, other than that. Mostly use the logs. We take help of logs only to check uh, where it is failing or causing delay.
Mhm. Okay. Uh, Thank you.
Mhm.
Moving on, let's talk about, do you have experience working in AWS or Azure, so cloud services?
I have studied AWS from the development perspective, and in one of the project, I have just, I mean, partially observed the how AWS used to work, the pods and everything I informed you. That was
Mhm.
again into AWS, but I did not create it. I mean, did not develop the CI/CD pipelines or the configuration. I did not handle, but
Mhm.
I have seen the interfaces. Also, I have studied for the AWS course as well.
Mhm. Okay. And okay, have you heard of AWS Lambda, Azure Functions, and
Yes.
Kubernetes cluster in
Lambda
general?
functions I have heard, not the idea about the Kubernetes functions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, okay. Moving on. Okay. So, in a general microservice architecture, right? Let's say
Mhm.
there's multiple microservices. One microservice is calling another microservice, and let's say that microservice is not available for some reason.
Mhm.
It could be anything. The microservice could be down. There could be a network issue. And how do we? Let's talk about like retry strategies or fallback mechanisms. So, what patterns or strategies come to your mind?
Okay, so in mostly I have heard. I mean, have seen the it is called a saga pattern. So in microservices, what happens if one service is failed? In the general example that we see in, as I mentioned, in the payment gateways, for example, if user has come to the payment and the payment has failed, but other services which has been updated already, like for example the product count that we done there, we suppose we have reduced that in the product services. What we have to do, we have to roll back all those changes or all the changes that we did in the previous services. So the main pattern that we have seen is saga pattern, which is called which is used for the rollback uh, in case of any service fail in microservice architecture.
Mhm. Okay, so Saga pattern is for rollback when, let's say, you have to do three steps, out of which
Mhm.
only two steps were completed, so you have to roll back.
Mhm.
That is for rollback.
Mhm.
Let's say, how will you retry? Is there strategy to retry? So when it fails, you'll have to roll back is one thing.
Mhm.
Later on, you'll have to retry, right? That particular operation.
Okay. Um,
Like if somebody tries to upload a
uh-huh.
image or a post, you will have to not retry forever, but at least
Mhm.
retry for some time. There has to be a
Yes.
strategy behind that, right?
Yes.
So do you know anything about that? Any
Uh,
particular?
no, no, I could not think as of.
Mhm. Okay, no issues. Moving on, just one last question before we move on to the coding part. Can you tell me what is, have you heard of the term reverse proxy cache?
Reverse proxy caching.
Correct.
Reverse proxy caching.
So we know caching is generally
Yeah.
saving
Uh,
regular data that's used commonly, right? So
yes,
how
yes.
does it differ from reverse proxy cache? Do you know?
Yeah. Uh, no, no, could not think of it. I mean, caching, as I know, but not exactly what is reverse proxy caching. So no
Mhm.
answer for this.
Okay, no issues. Okay. let me move on. I think that's all I had for the theoretical questions. Uh, Let me enable the coding editor just a second. Just a second. You should be able to see a coding screen.
Yes, I can see.
Okay, so let me, you can read through. I'll also brief you about the question. So what we have to do is, have you heard about Bitly URL?
Bit URL. Yes.
Short URLs,
Yes,
right?
yes. URL short.
So, so what we want to do is, we want to create a particular function for the short URL logic. So when you give a long URL, it has to give you a short URL, which should have a prefix, should have a 5-digit unique code, and the unique code should always contain. I've pasted a list of characters there, so it should always be from that. And when you should be able to have a decode function, which when you pass the short URL, it should give you the long URL. So we want to do that. It's just the core logic. We don't want to think about persistence or anything, just the logic. Take some time to read through it, and then we can you can walk me through.
Reading through the questions. This part EURL.com will always be same, right? Or this will be, I mean, this has to be the same, right?
Yeah, let's assume it's same for now.
Okay. The only variable part is after slash this five
After
digit
slash,
character.
those 5 digits.
Okay. It has to be random number, right? From this itself, not.
It has to be any random five digits on the list.
Hmm.
So try to think out your thoughts so that I understand.
So,
So
hmm.
how do we proceed with this? What are you thinking?
So basically, what I'm doing here, actually, I'm not able to copy it here directly. Otherwise, I would have taken it. So basically, what we do, we convert these characters to an array first, characters array. Later, what we will do in this loop, we can generate the five indexes. I mean, random index using math.random, and later from that array we can select those five indexes, and then we combine those to the this array, this URL, I mean this string, and we return that string, complete string.
Mhm. Okay.
So here I am just putting a loop. So, and then to get a five random uh, indexes, basically characters. So we have to pass a limit over here, like it should be under this only. So to pass the limit, we take its length. Uh, then once we get the index, what we can do, we can combine that into string. So
So map that random function. Does it take an argument?
Basically, it takes a limit, like how much it should limit that it takes argument, uh, and also we convert it to the actual, I mean the whole numbers. To convert to that, we basically do it into 100, I guess. So like this we do it.
Mhm.
So to convert
So
it to whole number.
okay, so if you want to generate a particular number between range,
Mhm.
you'll have to, I think, multiply the length instead of like math at random does not
Mhm.
take an argument.
Okay.
You have to do multiply
Mhm.
random into chars array dot length. So that will give you a number between 0 to chars array dot length. That's what we want, right?
Yes. Okay, so then we multiply it. And basically, let me store it directly into one variable. It's giving one syntax error. So const prefix is equal to. So what we can do here, we directly write prefix. So this will be for the encoding. To decode, let me think.
So for decode, we'll have to also keep in mind that when you want to decode, you'll have to uh, not generate any code, right? So, and the decoding should be of one, not of n, the time complexity n.
So basically we have to store this value somewhere. So for basically this path value that we have, what we have
Yeah.
created, right?
Let's for now store it inside just a variable.
Mhm. Okay, so for that, then we can store it something like this. For example, uh, we can create uh, one object. We will name it as path register, something like that, and then we can store it as a variable. I mean the object. Mm,
If you store it inside the encode function itself, you we will not have the
Yes.
you
Yeah, I will create one. I mean the variable first. Then I can store it in like a local storage, something like. So I'm just
okay.
creating a variable over here. I'm just deciding the structure for it. So for that, first we have to store the whole variable. Like the key will be the complete URL. So long URL will be the key, and to make it for this, the value will be the path. So then we can, I mean, before sending it, we can store it like local storage. set header, short, and then we can pass this value path register. Uh, so to decode it, basically we can directly read from the local storage. Storage dot.
Let's just read it from an in-memory variable like a hash or something for now. Local storage or any other persistence, we will talk about it later.
Okay. To read it from okay, then suppose we get it from the location and is stored into the object. We call it as a register object and path register object. So this will have this that value, and to decode basically uh, decode it directly. What we can do, we can return uh, prefix. Is this we can do it in a reverse way. We save the key as a, I mean the path as a key here. So later it will be easy for to get it. So what we get here is a short URL. So we can return like this path object dot the short URL. So we will get its value directly. So we don't have to do any calculation. Yeah, this would be the for decoding.
Oh, okay. So,
I mean here we are reading the value from wherever, and once we have that those whole array, I mean whole object, we can directly read the using this key what we are setting up over here.
mhm. But this path register that you have, you cannot access that inside the decode function, right? Because it's scoped to that particular function block.
No, as I mentioned, here I'm setting, I mean, for example, I'm storing it as a local storage. So if
Mhm.
we have local storage, we can store fetch it from the local storage. If suppose we are
So
set,
this local storage is a UI specific concept, right? So we want
yeah,
to do this in backend. So if you store it in local storage,
hmm,
and it's not going to sync
yeah,
across applications,
yeah.
right?
So just for example, return it over. What we can do it over here is basically directly save it to the database. I mean, but to store it in the database, we have to store it in some format, right? So the format I choose is key value pair.
Mhm. Okay, and this line number 31, where you said path object is equal to curly
Mhm,
braces, the
mhm,
block variable, right? So
mhm.
that is where you read it from the database or local
Yes,
storage.
yes.
Okay, okay. Let's say you assume we store it in the database. Can we talk about the database schema? How it would be?
Okay.
You said key value pair, right?
Mhm.
So, what database do you think would suit here? Like SQL, no SQL?
In MongoDB, we store it as a directly key value pair, like which is a non-SQL. In SQL one, we store it in the table. We will create one table for the path one, which is for the this code short code, and one column for the long one. I mean the long URL. Or we can just store directly this path. No, we can skip the whole prefix, the HTTP, the EPAM, everything we can skip. We can just store the sub, which is interview slash candidate. That much
Mhm,
only we can store in one column. It will be a two
mhm.
column table.
Okay, so let's say you have this two column table in SQL, and let's say it has like a million records,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Million or 10 million records.
Hmm.
How do we ensure that this the get operation is quick.
Okay, so exactly for this one, we generally we store. I mean, we get it from the IDs only. For this case,
So we cannot store 1 million records in Redis, right? Then
right.
maybe frequently used can be stored in Redis, but like on a general basis, like
Mhm,
normal items.
mhm. Uh, Basically, for the any type of database, we do is indexing basically. So by that indexing, the fetching of records, which is done from the key here. So that will be faster if we do use indexing over there. In case of Mongo, we directly, when we write the API, we have predefined methods like uh, find by ID like that. So with the help of ID, we directly get this data, the
You
particular
mentioned
one.
indexing, right? So which column do you think we should index here?
Mm. I guess the path one, the short path one, because that is the key over here, the main key. Because long URL is the not key over here. The main uniqueness is for this path one. So that's why we
Mhm.
should do indexing for the path.
Okay. 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 So, follow-up question on
Mm,
the encode function. So,
mm,
we're talking about saving it to database with index on the short URL. Let's say on the encode function, you get a URL which is already there in the database. Like you get a URL called like google.com, which you encode, you get a short URL, and then you get another google.com to encode. So you if you do the same thing, you'll get another short URL and you'll save it to the into the DB, right? So what do we do? How do we handle this? Or should we
mm.
handle this?
So the duplication is for which one you said? The long URL, right?
The long URL, yeah. The user, like two different users
Mm-hmm.
want to, not two different users, that may not be a right example. The same user wants to input the same URL twice.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Uh, so anyway, the URL is same actually in the both the cases. Uh, so the value, I mean, the value will what return it will be the same. I mean, there will be no different, but it will just consuming our memory. I mean, the database unnecessarily we are creating the two different rows for that.
Mhm. So can we improve the solution? Like instead of saving two items, can we avoid that?
Okay, so what we can do is in the encode function or within the same function, or we can create a separate function for that. We just check the when we receive this long URL, we can just first check whether that particular URL is present already in the database. Uh, so either we directly call this function, I mean the short the decode function, or the separate API is to check whether that particular long URL, this one, is present in the database. So that is the one way I can say.
Mhm.
Or what
Okay.
or what we can do depend, I mean not in this case possible, but we should make sure that uh, the the long URL should follow some extra rules that it will always get. I mean, here what I have done is I have selected the random indexing to get, but there
Mhm.
should be one more, I mean few extra queries we can add over here, that or some rules we can add over here that depend upon this path. It will follow the perfect rules, and then the short URL is get created. So by that it
Mhm.
will reduce the duplications.
Mhm. Okay. Do you know? So you mentioned that even for the same URL, if we can try to generate the same shortcode, right?
Hmm.
So do you know the name of that algorithm?
No algorithm, I'm not good
Mhm.
at that as of now.
Okay. No issues. I think that's almost the time. I think that's all I have on it. So let me, yeah. So before we close, like, do you have any questions for me?
No, Ram, I'm good on my side. It was a very nice interview. I got to learn a lot more things. I will definitely look after this. I mean, I could not answer few questions, so I will remind and I will just check later on this. Yeah.
No worries, no worries.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Thank
the
you.
attitude. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.